do this with buttons. You can do it with an ultrasonic sensor. You can do it. Have you seen some of the kids who do it with a touch sensor? They have a touch sensor on their robot. When they push that button, it just jumps to the next. So you don't need to deal with this. You're pre-programmed. So you come in here, and the lights are going to flash on the robot. It's going to do nothing because it's waiting for you to tell it what it wants you to do. Okay? If you press go, it's going to run whatever your counter is set at. Just get it to display on your display on your robot, and it's going to run that. So suppose you run 1. Let's say your counter is at 1. It'll run this. So it goes on, turns the 90-degree changing conditions and comes back to base. That program is still running, right? So you get back to base, and you've now stopped. You tell it to wait. It's coming. When it comes back, it's going to wait for something like this to happen. So it's going to sit there. If you push the up button, it's going to up your counter by 1, because here what you're going to do is you're going to program it to say counter plus 1. What do you think you're going to do here? To go to the previous. Minus 1. To go to the previous. Right? So, and then you just come over here, and then once you've set your counter, okay, you've got all of this in a loop. Have you guys worked with loops? Yeah. Okay, so you've got this in an infinite loop, right? So it's going to come here. This is going to all connect in here, over here. So you'll come through here. It'll decrease the counter. It'll say, oh, and it should just go back. Wait. Have you seen how when you have a block, it has the top of the block kind of does a wave type of thing when it's running that block? Have you seen that? Especially the EV3 people. Have you seen that? When there's a block, when your block is actually running, it gets the little wave or whatever. So when you run this, what happens is this block will have a wave, and this block will have a wave, and this block will have a wave. Because all 3 waits are happening at the same time. It's doing parallel branches. So I have 3 branches that are going there. And you can write this however you want, whatever works for you. But it's just waiting. So it's just going to sit there, and the lights are going to flash. So depending on the button that you push, it's going to go into that branch. The other 2 will remain in a wait. It's going to come in here, run whatever you tell it. So what you have here then, when you do the run, is you have one branch called 1. You have this is a switch. You have one branch called 2, and you have one branch called 3. This is your turn 90 program that you've cut and pasted in here. This is your door program that you've cut and pasted in here. And this is your good and better program that you've cut in here. Okay? This is going to be also in a switch. And what it's going to do before it starts here, it's going to say, what's my counter? It's going to read the counter, just like you did here. You're going to, with a variable, you're going to read your variable and say, what's my counter variable right now? It's 1. Okay, I'm going to go run turn 90. It's 2, I'm going to run door. It's 3, I'm going to read, I'm going to do good and better. Comes out of this loop, comes back here, comes back and waits for the next one. So what this does, they've calculated, saves you between 15 and 20 seconds in transition time because the buttons that take so long to manipulate. If you prefer a touch sensor, just instead of doing buttons, just have it wait for the touch sensor to be pressed. You can do it with an ultrasonic sensor. It's fine. Totally legal. The only thing is, your robot has to be motionless whenever you give it the signal, like this or
so it doesn't have to be in base?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, back in base.
Has to be back in base. So your turn 90 program here, for example, gets your robot back to base right now, right?
Right.
No different.
Right.
It needs to come back to base. The motors stop. You need to end with a coast rather than a brake. If you end with a brake, your motors are locked.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense what I just said?
Yeah.
You know a motor block? You can end with a brake or with a coast.
And I don't totally understand the difference. So you have to.
This is the difference.
In this one, you have to.